Hey, welcome to PSYCOW. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Stacy.
And this week we have the lovely Jonathan Tiersten.
Jonathan, you may know from Sleepaway Camp, Return to Sleepaway Camp, even The Perfect House, but he's also mainly known for his music.
Right. He is a very talented musician. You can check him out on YouTube. He has his own YouTube channel. I think it's called Spotify or one of those song websites. Not too keen on song websites, but he uploads.
You can probably type it on Google; it'll come up for you.
But he does his own work and a bunch of covers. He's very talented. But we talk about everything with him though, music, movies.
Yes.
But Return to Sleepaway Camp and Sleepaway Camp are two of our favorite movies, especially Sleepaway Camp. Good lord.
Definitely, that's one that we both of us grew up on, and I think everybody that saw that movie was very, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, everyone talks about the ending, which the ending is amazing. If you haven't seen it yet, please, for the love of God, go see it right now.
Yeah, but the kills are great too. There are some great kills in that movie.
Death by beast. Suck on that, Nicolas Cage.
Death by curling iron in the vagina.
I've actually had that happen to me once. It sucks.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Without further ado, let's get to the interview with Jonathan Tiersten.
Nice to talk to you guys, finally.
Yes.
Me too.
25
I'm so
minutes
excited.
later.
We've been looking forward to this because we are huge fans of Sleepaway Camp, and I know you probably get a bunch of Sleepaway Camp questions all the time. But
Oh, you wanted the Jonathan Tiersten who was in Sleepaway Camp? I'm sorry, I never met him.
Oh,
Weird.
no.
Yeah,
just a musician now. We'll do a music show.
I can't believe we went through this. That's weird.
Yeah, we'll just do the music show then. All right, let's jump into it then.
Yes.
You want to start, Stacy, with the questions?
Sure will. All right. So what made you want to start acting?
It's kind of an interesting story. Wow. From when I was a kid, I guess I was always kind of a creative little guy, but he never actively pursued it, like even in high school. And I think I was in 10th or 11th grade when the PepsiCola people came to my high school and said they were doing a commercial audition, and I didn't sign up, and two of my friends dragged me to the principal's office literally 5 minutes before the deadline and said, "You have to sign up for this." I wasn't in drama class. I wasn't, I played in a couple bands, but we never played out. Anyway, the whole high school auditioned. It was like 2,500 kids or whatever. And you know the way high schools are. I went to high school with Elizabeth Shue, and so.
Oh wow.
Yeah, everybody said, why are we even auditioning for this? She's gonna get it. She was already in a Burger King commercial, and so we sat in the cafeteria for, I don't remember, 8 hours. It was just something stupid, and then the auditions lasted a whole week. And they kept doing cuts and cuts and cuts, and it got down to like 25, and then it got down to 19, and then it got down to 12, and I eventually got it. And that's when they finally told us that that the commercial was with Gabriel Kaplan from Welcome Back, Kotter,
Right.
Who was one of my heroes. No kidding. And just did the movie Fast Break with another one of my heroes, who was a guy named Bernard King, who played for the New York Knicks. And Gabe Kaplan was just awesome. He was amazing. And it was a basketball-themed commercial. And, I had watched him on, Battle of the Network Superstars, where he, kicked the shit out of Robert Conrad. And I remember he was sick, really sick, like had 102 fever. My mom,
Oh my god.
I called up my mom and asked her to make him a big old Knox sandwich. And she did, and my mom came down with the sandwich. You still hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. My mom came down with the sandwich, and Gabriel Kaplan looked at her and said, he's a natural. From that moment, I looked at her and I said, "Can I get an agent?" And, truth be told, it was my stepmom and my dad were the ones who, more often than not dragged me down to New York. Ironically, I ended up with the same manager as Elizabeth Shue, but I went from being sort of like a jock kid to I would finish school, and then I would hop on a train to Manhattan. I only lived about 20 miles outside of it. It took about 45 minutes on 2 trains to get there. And I would finish school, and I would go on a train, and I would audition. And so it all started from 2 friends of mine dragging me at the last minute to a Pepsi audition that happened to be filming at my high school.
Well, they were good friends.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Elizabeth Shue got disqualified from the competition, from the audition?
I do, actually, because they actually gave it to her.
Oh.
But then they found out that she had already worked, and that disqualified her.
Ah.
It's
Oh.
supposed to be people who hadn't worked before.
So she was lying.
Lying? No. But first of all, Lisa, as I knew her, is one of the most genuinely kind, still,
Right.
and amazing people ever. But I don't think she was lying. I think that they just didn't realize that there might be somebody who already worked.
Yeah, they didn't think to ask the question, right?
Well, because I mean, nowadays, a town 20 miles outside of New York, you would think, most people would be like, well, obviously, there's got to be somebody in this high school as an actor or whatever, blah blah blah. But back then, no, it was like, I mean, the separation from where we lived to New York City was so vast. I had friends I grew up with who had never even been to the city, and that, I mean, and I can jog that far.
Right.
And again, I might die in the tunnel, but it's really crazy because that is a true story. Is that I grew up with people who never, ever, ever went to New York City. They were Jersey kids,
Right. Well, like we said before, we're huge fans of like the slasher genre and everything, and Sleepaway Camp has to be in the top 5 slasher films ever for me. What drew you? Were you drawn to horror movies growing up?
I was. I wasn't. It wasn't my specific genre, but I'll never forget that when I saw The Exorcist for the first time. My friend Bobby. He invited me to his house and lied to, his mom, and I lied to my mom, saying that there was going to be parental supervision. And I think I was 11 or something like that. And we watched The Exorcist, and my God, I mean, the movie on so many levels is so brilliant and great. And, and that was the age of the French Connection and The Godfather and all these other movies that I had been introduced to. And the movie was so great, but it was so unbelievably terrifying, and it was special effects that we had never, ever seen anything remotely, like that. We'd never seen a head spin around.
Right.
I just had a dream about that last night, which is crazy.
You must explain that.
I had a dream last night, and it's funny because you guys just reminded me of it, where this guy kept turning his head, and then he'd say, wait for it, and then he'd say, okay, and the guy would snap it back around because he's double jointed. But if he didn't wait for it correctly, then it hurt. And but I will tell you honestly, I did not sleep for a year. I mean, that's no joke.
Right. See, I want that feeling though, because I was born in '88, so obviously that movie came out before me, and I'd never have seen that movie in theaters, and that movie scared the shit out of me when I saw that movie. But I wish I had that feeling of, going in there and not really knowing what I'm going to witness, and see it in the theater.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Right.
And when I subsequently saw The Omen, which I also love, it just wasn't nearly as scary because, I'm sorry, even today, nothing in my mind, comes close to The Exorcist. But it's also because of all the backstories and, the character development. And, that's what I said always makes Sleepaway Camp work. I mean, for years, people talked about, Sleepaway Camp, you can ignore the first 80 minutes and then just watch the end. And I always said, people wouldn't be watching this 100 times in a row.
Right.
If it were just about the ending. I said the reason Sleepaway Camp worked was character development. It had to be. And it was a very, and the recent reviews that have come out, which is very interesting, all talk about that. They're like, it wasn't your standard slasher because you got into the people who were in the movie. Nobody would care who the hell Ricky was if his character wasn't developed.
Right. Yeah, and that's something you have to do too, because when someone dies in a horror movie and you don't care about it, that's not a good thing. You have to care about the person to actually feel the suspense of the environment.
Well, and it's so interesting in Sleepaway Camp because it was all these weird things, where it was like, that kind of, justification killings.
Right.
But then it all gets turned on its head at the end. And everybody's like, I don't know what to think.
It is the most shocking ending to any horror movie that's ever been made, though. Like, no one ever saw that coming. Like,
No.
Nope. Except me.
Right, yeah. You were there.
Well, I had the script.
Right.
Oh, you guys knew.
No, only me.
You?
Only me and Felissa.
Oh.
We were the only ones who had the ending.
Right. At that age, did you fully understand, though? Because I don't think at that age I'd have been like, I don't understand what the hell's going on.
I was 17, so
well, yeah, I guess so, yeah.
I totally understood, and I was a New Jersey, New York kid. It's funny. I still think back on it. I didn't think it was that big a deal.
Right.
I was like, I know a lot of weird people. And it's like everybody around me, all, the families, including mine, they were all getting divorced. They were all screwing each other. People were coming out as gay that had been straight for, 40-something years. So for me, I was like, well, that's a nice twist.
Yeah.
I never thought it would be that big a deal,
Did you expect it to get such a cult following?
Well, here's what's interesting, is that when it, I don't know if you know the history of when it came out.
Probably not. I don't know.
It was extremely popular.
Right.
They did a limited release initially in just a couple test markets, and it beat on their opening weekends as well. It beat Yentl and Amityville 3D.
Oh, wow.
On its opening weekend. So that's when they released it broadly, nationally. And then it ran in theaters for like 17 weeks.
Wow.
Which movies don't do anymore. But,
right.
But so I knew it was something then, but, whatever, 10 years later I had forgotten about it pretty much.
And then it got picked back up, I guess. Definitely there's a huge following for it now. So you're saying, like, the movie was huge and then it kind of died down for a while, or?
Yeah, well, it died down, in that period when I was still acting, but it died down in that period afterwards because there was no internet.
Right.
Right.
And when the internet, picked up and a guy named Jeff Hayes, picked up the website, that's when things started to pick up again, and he contacted me out of the blue, whatever it was, 12 years ago, saying, there's a lot of people who like this movie. But I had denied being in it,
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I quit the acting business, and, I was working so hard to be a musician, and I think I knew somewhere in the back of my mind that a lot of people knew about it, but, I was young and stupid, and I thought, that's not what I want to be known for. That will, make me less legitimate as a musician, et cetera, all those sorts of stupid things you tell yourself. But, and then Felissa got back in touch with me, and, it was kind of a, symbiotic thing where I helped her. I said, you need to get back into the business because everybody loves Angela,
Right.
And I was still working as a manager at a retail store, and miserable, I might add.
Yeah.
But playing like, upwards of 100 shows a year as a musician. So, no free time at all. But the first time I ever got invited to a convention was, I think, it was Chiller in 2009.
What?
Yeah, well, I did Fangoria in 2000, but that was,
Right. I guess if you quit the acting business and denied it, they don't know to look for you.
Well, I think a lot of people thought I was dead,
Oh. That's depressing.
Chiller, in 2009, when they say we're going to fly you out, we're going to put you up in the Crown Plaza, and and you'll sit there and sign autographs. And I was like, nobody's going to ask me for an autograph, And then I made a lot of money, and I was like, whoa, what the hell is this? But then I did subsequent conventions, and I didn't make as much, and I realized that what it was sort of an in for me to get back into the business. Because I looked young, and I'm kind of funny. Or so people tell me.
15 years later, Return to Sleepaway Camp was made. Did you know for a while they were wanting to do another sleepaway camp and they invited you in? Is that how it worked out?
Yeah, it was really interesting. It was actually supposed to get made. It was actually made in 2003, but it was supposed to be made in 2002. And I was in negotiations. I was talking directly with Robert Hiltzik on the phone, the director.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, I was like leaving for the East Coast the next day, and the whole thing fell through. And I was like, the idea of going back to my retail job the next day was like so awful. But I did, and I kept it, thankfully. But then it did end up getting made the next year. And that was, for me it was cool because it was an excuse to hang out with Felissa again, and we've been pretty close for a long time now, and so it was and they asked me to be in it, but they were they weren't offering me anything,
Right.
I said I asked for a certain amount of money, and they laughed.
But I mean, you got to, like you said, with you kind of reunited with Felissa and with Paul D'Angelo. Did you kind of like spark something back up with him? Because I know he looked exactly like he did in the original film to me. Like he did not age at all.
Yeah, it was, the three of us are very close. We always will be. Paul is a very, very sweet man, and I was in a really crummy place when we made Return. I sort of felt like, what am I doing here? And also, but Robert kept saying, you're the glue. And I was there for 5 weeks to film basically a cameo, so I was mostly sitting around.
Right.
Right.
I guess I was like, Felissa's support group or something. But, which mostly ended up, the two of us gallivanting, getting drunk, and doing stupid things. But, I was so terribly unhappy with my performance that I've never seen it.
Oh, really? I loved it when you popped up. I was like, that's awesome. Because I had no idea that you were going to be in it, or Felissa for that matter. I've watched Sleepaway Camp. I just assumed, seeing the two sequels.
I was jumping on the bulldozer or whatever it was.
Right.
I'm proud that I could do that, but but no, I honestly have never seen the film.
Have you seen the sequels that follow the original?
No, I've never seen either of the sequels.
Yeah, they're not as good.
That's people always say to me, are you mad? Or I'm like, no, it's not, I could think of something better to do with 90 minutes of my time.
If they were ever going to, and it's inevitable, it seems like, if they ever remake Sleepaway Camp, would you get aggravated at that, or would you be a part of that?
Well, it's funny. I guess I got to be honest with you guys, because I've done a lot of interviews recently about this, because there's so much going on in my career right now. But truth be told, I have already said it publicly, so I'm not going to lie to you guys. I would support it with all of my heart and love, but in no way, shape, or form would I be involved.
Right. I don't blame you. We're not really big fans of remakes.
I wouldn't do a cameo. I wouldn't be a producer. But I would, if people ask me about it, I would say, good for them. It's about time.
Right.
You don't want to slam it. You just don't.
No, and the person I'm working with right now might be the guy to do it. But you never know. So.
Right.
Because you never know, because he's the guy who made the Friday the 13th remake.
Right, yeah.
That's, and I love him, so don't say anything bad about him. But
No, we're not going to say anything bad about him, but we can say things.
We'll bring it up later. We can, as we progress in the interview, you can ask me all about that. But
okay.
You have a list of questions, so. Because it's been an exciting couple of years, I got to tell you guys.
That's good, though. We're happy for you, though.
Holy frickin' mackerel, which is not what Ricky would say, but Ricky didn't have a kid.
Well, you and Felissa worked together again on The Perfect House. How
Yes.
was it working on The Perfect House? Did you enjoy that set and film?
I freaking loved it. It was so awesome. We only saw each other on the day that she arrived.
Oh, really?
She recommended me for the role because Jason Mewes was supposed to play it.
Really?
Yeah, and he got something that, pays. So he said, I can't do it. And Felissa said to the director, Chris Holbert, what about Jonathan Tiersten? And Chris was like, Chris wasn't even a fan of Sleepaway Camp. And he said, can he seem menacing? He said, I'm looking at his Facebook page. There's all these pictures of him and his son. His songs are all pretty and blah, blah. Felissa said, try dating him. And, so that was her thing. And so Chris called me on the phone and he said, his story is it's that, about 30 seconds into the conversation, he said, oh my God, that is John Dozy. And I don't know if you guys have seen the film, but,
yes, I have. And
Well,
you were brutal.
I've tried to see it, but I've tried to buy it twice, and for some reason my bank account will not let me purchase it from the website it's on.
well, just go to, you can just, buy it directly from me off an email.
Let's do that, because
I only have the 720 copies because, the 1080, they just sold the distribution rights, so it's illegal for me to sell it to you, so I'll just send you one.
No.
No, you're not allowed to buy it from me.
Oh. Damn it! I don't want to owe people stuff.
If I send it to you, if I sell it to you, then the distribution company
Right.
can come on me. But,
yeah, I've tried to buy it twice, and it just would go.
Nobody can buy it anymore anyway. No.
Oh, gotcha. Because it would go through, but then 2 days later, I was just like, nope, it's not happening.
It'll be up on Netflix and stuff in February, and
Okay.
which I'm really excited about. I already won a Best Actor award at the Underdogs Film Festival, and I got nominated for a second one, and now I just got nominated for a third one. So
That's
in New York
awesome.
City. Yeah,
That
so
is awesome.
well, and I was like, people said, how did you feel about getting back into acting? I'm like, well, when they give me this, it's like putting a golf ball on a tee, that role. I mean,
Right.
I was like, what a role.
Yeah, you got to play the crazy killer.
Yeah,
That was
awesome. And somebody said, how did you find, that rage? And I said, wow. I said, that's the easy part.
It's turning it off. No.
No, I said it's controlling it and making it interesting. It's
Right.
the part. But yeah, I mean, I grew up as a method actor, and that's what I went to college for. And I even did an after-school special with Uta Hagen, and that was actually one of the first acting exercises I looked up. Was one that she had created, and it helped immeasurably.
Did you do any kind of prepping to get into that character? Because he is
tons.
he's pretty rough. Yeah.
I mean, tons. I did so much work before I got there, and then when I was doing the role, I'm sure you could see that I looked kind of sweaty and out of breath on a lot of the scenes.
Oh yeah.
I was doing pull-ups from the girders in the basement. I was swinging a sledgehammer. I was doing push-ups. All sorts of things to sort of keep me, in that moment. In the more intense scenes, and then in the in the darker scenes, somebody said, how do you feel when you're feeling that kind of rage and it's just sort of, simmering? I said, well, have you ever had a boss?
Right.
Yeah.
I said, because that's where I was. That's what I was using it as was, or for me, your parents. Sorry, it just is what it is.
Right.
Who can piss you off more than your family?
God, that's so true. Most of mine.
Other than the boss, I don't think anybody.
But that's what it was so interesting, and Holly Green was so great. As my cage victim, and she did not, she and I did not talk at all, while we were on set. Outside of our scenes,
right,
and yet we've become incredibly close friends since. But that's because I respect her as an actress. I mean, I when I got back into the acting thing after being a songwriter for so long, I was like, wow, man, thank God. I was like, this feels so good. And, and Chris Holbert was funny about it. He's like, just watching you was so much fun. But the first day I couldn't remember my lines. I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Right.
I was so nervous. But yeah, I mean, The Perfect House, I think, is a movie that people really need to see.
Yeah, I
You're a
definitely.
horror fan.
Oh yeah, definitely want to see it. Well, Stacey, I think it's your question. We already asked this.
I know you frequent the convention scene, and for me, that's something I do as well. I love going to the conventions.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really enjoy going to the conventions? Or is there one in particular that you enjoy the most?
Well, I couldn't say I really frequent it, because I think I've maybe done 5 or 6 total.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but and it's I mean I like it because I like I wouldn't even call them fans. I like the people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so keen on the organizers.
Gotcha.
Uh,
I know how that goes too. Even as a fan, going to those sometimes it's kind of
yeah,
like, yeah.
but the fans are just awesome. I mean, and so much fun, and I invariably find myself hanging out with them all the time. So I wouldn't say I have any preference to any particular convention. I know I'm blacklisted from Monster Mania because I missed my Q&A, but and I was like 50 feet away. I was at the bar.
That's awesome.
Well, I was holding court, which is what I do when I'm at a bar, and so I had probably more people, maybe not more, but maybe as many people at the bar that I was telling stories to, as were in the Q&A with the rest of Sleepaway Camp. And so, I mean, I felt badly for my fellow cast members because I should have been there, but I just thought it was a funny moment because I was.
Still, if there's ever a time to miss something, it's to be at a bar.
Well, it was the bar in the hotel. I mean, and so I was just, I'm sitting there telling stories, but they had nothing to do with Sleepaway Camp, I mean, I got a million stories beyond that. Kidding me? But I was, I think there was, at some point, there was like some guy tapping on my shoulder going, Mr. Tiersten, Mr. Tiersten. I had no idea who that was. So I ignored him. But it was, so yeah, the Monster Mania guys are not my biggest fans. You know the way that works. If I do a big movie, they'll be, you know,
Hey, come back.
shoving their heads directly up my sphincter.
Well, you talked about it before. You do a lot of writing and singing. Do you prefer acting over singing or singing over acting?
I can't say it's prefer. I am a musician. That's who I am at my core. I've played, more than 1,000 shows in my life, live shows. And I've written, 100 and some odd songs at least. So, when push comes to shove, that's what I am. But when I got back into acting, it was such an amazing feeling. I was like, and one fed the other, which was awesome. It was like, when I started acting again, suddenly I was able to write more as a musician. So I don't think they're mutually exclusive.
Have you ever done like a U.S. tour? Like, would you ever go on tour if you haven't?
Oh yeah, I have. I've never done like a long tour. I've had people contact me about it, especially recently, which I'm really excited about. So we'll see what comes of it. But I have a friend who works for iHeartRadio, and I have a couple songs that are going to be in all of the supercuts in the country and several other retailers, and those things inevitably lead to some sort of tour. But I have a family, and so I try and. For me, the idea of going out on the road for 6 months doesn't hold any, interest for me anymore.
Right.
But going out on the road for a month or two, sure, yeah. And I mean, I've done that before, and it's fun as heck. you know. Sometimes I'll do it solo, sometimes I'll do it with a band, and it's just, I mean, I love playing music, you know, for audiences, especially when I know that they're actually coming to see me, you know. And that's what's been so exciting in recent years, you know, because they're starting to get to know my original music, and a lot of them were originally Sleepaway Camp fans, and now they're like diehard, you know, Jonathan Tiersten music fans, which is great. I can't think of anything better. I mean, I wrote the theme song for The Perfect House, and I also did, you know, the only other original song that's in The Perfect House was mine. So yeah, it's nice to be able to sort of blend the two careers without question.
I know that you did a cover of Chris Isaak's Wicked Game.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other covers you have up your sleeve?
Well, I've done a bunch online. I did, see if I can remember one that I really liked. Don't Dream It's Over by Crowded House came out really good. I did, I had a little contest on my Facebook page for Halloween themed stuff, and somebody asked for Don't Fear the Reaper.
Yes.
Oh.
So I did that, and one of the original members of Blue Oyster Cult actually complimented it.
Really?
Yeah, it blew my mind, because it was kind of sloppy, and I wasn't sure how good it was, but it was heartfelt. But I was reading the lyrics, you know, like in front of my computer.
Right.
But yeah, one of the original members, he was the original bass player for Blue Oyster Cult. He and his brother were both in the band up until '86. So, I mean, they were in the band a long time. And yeah, he complimented on it and said he has a nice voice, and I like, what did he say? He said, I like something about the honesty in his rendition. And I was like, wow.
That's pretty. I mean, especially because it's the original, you know, Blue Oyster Cult. I mean, if anyone can say that, but coming from him, that's got to be a big honor.
He was there when the song was written.
Right.
Yeah, it was very nice. It was very nice. And so we became Facebook friends, which is really cool.
Well, are there any films we can look forward to seeing you in the coming year?
Yeah, well, the next one that I have coming out is called Redemption. And it's a psychological thriller that I, again, just sort of stumbled into the role. But everybody involved with it is a method actor, including George Loros, who was on The Sopranos. He played Buffalo Ray Curto, who was the head of the Manhattan mob. And he was also in Serpico and countless other films. And I got to know him on set, which was really just amazing. And Barry Primus, who was in Cagney and Lacey for 6 years and played Sharon Gless's drug-addicted cop husband. And that one's supposed to debut in February at the Tribeca Film Festival in New York, which is, you know, De Niro's big thing. And then, you know, the rest of the stuff is, well, should I put the big whopper on you now or no?
Oh, go for it, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'll give you the whopper. As opposed to the Big Mac. Oh boy. I got, on my birthday, in August, I got an email from Eli Roth.
Oh, I love him.
Oh.
He's tattooed headless on my arm.
Well, expressing his desire to work with me. And I was so flabbergasted that I researched the IP address. I'm like, this has got to be bullshit. And my amazing manager, Andrea Albin, who was actually working with Scott Spiegel, was the one who told me that she said Eli is like a fan beyond a fan. And he even put in his email, he said, I consider it an honor to even be having this conversation. And then I just started giggling. But just 2 weekends ago, I went up to Vail, Colorado, and I've been trying to set up this meeting for a very long time with my old childhood friend, Brian Witten, who produced The Wedding Singer, Happy Gilmore, Little Nicky, most recently The Chernobyl Diaries, that he co-wrote with Oren Peli from Paranormal Activity.
It's a good film.
Yeah, that's what he said, you know, and he said, you know, we didn't get the greatest reviews. He's like, but I'm really proud of the film. And my friend Ron Oliver, who's a great director as well, said that he thought it was brilliant. Ron did Prom Night 2 and 3, which were the, what was it, Hello, Mary Lou?
Right.
One.
Yes.
He completely changed it and apparently made it much better. Anyway, so Brian and I, my friend Roger, who is the CEO of Massachusetts Mutual, were up in Vail, and I'm sitting there going, this is crazy. But I had been working on this meeting forever. Brian is doing a new TV series with James Wan, who produced, all the Saw movies and Insidious.
Right.
And wrote them. And so they have a new TV series that they're working on. So Brian came up and we started talking, and we've been talking, online for a while, but, that is what it is. And he said, finally, when I finally got him down to my house after 3 days up in Vail, he said to my wife, he said, your husband and I are working together. And the plan is, and I even got a text from Adam Sandler while we were up there, which was crazy. But, because, we went to college together. But we're going to work together to produce films that I will more than likely act in and add to the soundtrack. So, now it's a matter of whatever our first project is going to be. I've been getting a lot of scripts, but the stuff that's been most interesting has come from Jeffrey Reddick, who created Final Destination.
Right.
And so Jeffrey and I have been talking quite a bit, and I've talked to Dan Myrick, who created Blair Witch, and I'm blown away. It's so awesome. And
all this news coming is amazing right now.
Right.
I'm so excited.
Giving you guys a big one here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This is the first interview I've had since, because we all were together on the weekend before Thanksgiving. That was it. And Brian said, let's get this done. And he is not one to say things that he doesn't mean.
Right.
And he certainly wouldn't say it to my wife, because she'd kill him. But so it's really exciting, and so we'll see what these new projects are. They're gonna be because Witten Pictures is mostly horror/thriller based, but now he's worked with Oren Peli, and now he's working with James Wan, and it's just awesome. And I love the idea of being on the producing side of it, and then I would love the idea of maybe touring, 1 or 2 months a year, maybe 2 or 3, whatever, musically, and then not have the sort of fear of not making a lot of money, because you already have this other thing.
Right.
But I mean, because in the music industry right now, nobody's making money.
Right.
Except for a very select few people. And I love to play live, and that's the thing that I've been missing in the last couple of years. And so I would just love to do that more. I really miss it.
That's I'm so blown away. I'm so excited for you too.
Well, thank you.
For all of this stuff coming up, and we'll definitely keep an eye out for all of it that's coming.
Right. You're definitely busy.
I said to him, am I allowed to tell people? And he said, yeah. He's like, dude, Adam Sandler texted you. What do you...
What did the text say?
It said, I thought he was dead.
Best way to start a text.
Yes. And then said, oh my God, tell Johnny much love to him and his family, and I'd love to catch up.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because Johnny was my name in college, but it was crazy when I was up at the Ritz-Carlton. I didn't even tell you guys. I went down into the gym in the morning after the three of us were up way too late, but I just go to the gym because that's what I do.
Right.
And I must have been smelling like, I don't even want to think about it. But and I walk in, and there is Tiger Woods on the exercise ball. And then in the outside room is Lindsey Vonn with her German trainer. And I'm so hungover. You know that kind of like antsy feeling you have when you're hungover. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I must be in the wrong place. Like there must have been some kind of card that I should have scanned walking in or something. And so I just sort of slithered. I actually said good morning to Tiger, and he said good morning back, which was nice. But and then in my mind it went, you didn't sleep with anybody on your way down from your room, did you? But I think that was in my mind.
Hopefully.
But you didn't
No,
say
it
that out
did. Maybe
loud.
not. But ask Monster Mania. Anyway, I sort of slithered over to the elliptical machine, just said, I'm going to do this. But then it was really funny because I turned on a movie, and my friend Ron Oliver's movie was playing, which is it's a new Hallmark movie called Love at the Thanksgiving Day Parade. And he does these Hallmark movies that, they're supposed to be like cheesy and horrible, but they're really good because he's such an amazing director and scriptwriter.
Right.
That I was like, I got totally into it. So I worked out for like an hour and a half, and then I went upstairs and I threw up. And I walked into the kitchen and I went, wait a minute. And I went and I threw up, and I saw Brian and he said, what's going on? I said, I just threw up. He said, yeah, I did that earlier. I said, okay, well, I guess some things never change. So it was interesting because, to hang out with these two guys who, have so much money, it's like, it's unbelievable. It's, Tommy Lee Jones is renting Rogers Place over New Year's Eve, but,
God.
yeah, it's absurd, but all I want is to do what I love to do and stay in my lovely house in Colorado with my lovely wife and my amazing son and my 4 dogs and a cat and a fish named Nutcracker,
Greatest name.
Yeah, my son named. But that's it. I don't want like ostentatious stuff. I just want to work.
Right.
I feel like the antithesis of that Garth Brooks song, where I'm like, I have friends in high places. But apparently I do. And that's awesome.
Well, my one last question for you, and I know I've sent this to you before on Facebook, but now I just have to hear it over the air.
Okay.
Because one of the most quoted lines that we use in my house is the beginning of Sleepaway Camp when John gets killed. Lenny says,
John.
John.
I love that.
You already did it, but I'm going to ask you to do it one more time.
All right, can I do it clear so you guys can record it?
Yes, perfect.
Ready? John.
Thank you so much.
I think you just made Stacy's week.
I have to send this to all my friends now because they're going to be like, oh my god, I can't believe that happened.
Oh my god! Haven't you seen Jake the dog and Finn the human?
Well, we do like to do it's like a quick speed round. I guess it's 8 questions. We've already answered one of them. It's called the PSYCOW 8.
Ready? I'm ready.
Okay, what's the scariest movie of all time? You've already answered that one.
Exorcist.
Yep.
What's the best movie you've seen in the last 5 years?
Ooh, man. This movie I've seen in my 5 years. Holy shit. Probably, what the hell's the name of it? The something bureau, with Matt Damon. Yeah.
Adjustment Bureau?
Yeah, that one.
What's your favorite movie you've worked on so far?
The Perfect House.
What's the worst horror movie monster of all time?
Swamp Thing.
Oh no, you broke my heart. What's your cheesy guilty pleasure movie outside of horror?
Princess Bride.
Oh, such a good movie.
That's a good one.
My heart's regained.
What do you think about all the rebooted, recycled, and remade movies?
I don't.
That is the best answer we've had so far.
That is amazing.
What's your favorite decade for horror films?
80s.
What is something you've learned from horror movies?
You know what? I've learned to not take things too seriously.
That's a good answer.
Good. Well, thank you so much for. I mean, we love that you are not a one-word guy. We love the stories.
I'm not a one-word guy. That's why I don't tweet.
Yeah, you can't do it in like 100. What is it, like 160 characters?
I don't even know, but I do. I run out before I even get done, and then they go logged out.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate
I'll never be a twit.
it.